Welcome back to the deep dive. We are standing right here on the cusp of a brand new year, 2026. And if you're like most people, you're probably not just hoping for change. You're likely looking for a blueprint, something solid to actually build it.
Yeah, and that's exactly what we have today. This is really foundational stuff because when we talk about creating a breakthrough year, we aren't talking about, luck or some kind of magic. We're
No.
talking about the consistent, often sort of invisible actions that ultimately determine where you end up, the small things done daily. And our source material today, Blueprint for Breakthrough, 10 Habits for 2026, frames this perfectly, I think. It calls habits the invisible architects. I like that metaphor.
Yeah, they don't announce themselves with a lot of fanfare, right? But every single day, they are quietly, almost secretly shaping the structure of your life.
Everything. Your health, your mental clarity, financial stability, even, your destiny, really.
So the mission for this deep dive is, well, it's pretty ambitious. We're looking for a full spectrum upgrade here.
That's the goal. We're dissecting the top 10 best habits identified in the blueprint, specifically designed to help you, the listener, level up mentally, physically, emotionally, and even financially.
We want to give you the precise tools, the actionable steps to ensure the coming year really is your breakthrough year.
So let's unpack this blueprint. Where should we start?
Well, it seems logical to start where all breakthroughs really must begin. Establishing mental sovereignty. Ah, yes. Control.
Exactly. This is all about claiming ownership of your attention in a world that feels like it's specifically designed to steal it second by second.
That's absolutely the critical first step. In today's world, maybe more than ever, attention is the most valuable commodity, and it's the most fiercely fought over.
Definitely.
If you give up control of your mental state, you just end up operating perpetually in reaction mode, always responding to emails, notifications, news alerts.
Instead of creating, you're just reacting. Exactly. Responding to external stimuli rather than generating your own internal progress, you lose the reins. And the first habit, habit 1, gets right to the absolute heart of this modern attention crisis. Start your day without your phone. The 30-minute boundary. Sounds so simple, doesn't it?
It does, but
but
the difficulty lies in the deep-seated psychological conditioning we all have around our devices. That pull is strong. It's incredibly strong, and the source material explains the core issue really well. The moment you check notifications or social media or even just the news when you first wake up, your brain is instantly hijacked by other people's priorities. You snap out of that calm, creative default mode network, which is active when you first wake up, straight into the reactive task negative network.
It's like this massive dopamine surge, isn't it? But it sets such a terrible precedent for the rest of the day.
It really does. You haven't even had a chance to set your own internal agenda for the day, and suddenly you're in triage mode, reacting to someone else's mini crisis, or worse, comparing your groggy reality to someone's perfectly curated Instagram feed.
Yeah, you've lost the initiative before your feet even hit the floor. It's a really disempowering way to start.
So the action here is that dedication. The 30 minutes, phone-free. This time establishes a sacred boundary.
A buffer zone between your sleeping self and the digital onslaught of the world.
Okay, but I have to push back a little here because this is the number one thing we hear. People say, but what if I use my phone as my alarm clock? I have to pick it up to turn it off. How does the blueprint handle that immediate barrier?
Yeah, that's a really common and critical challenge. The blueprint addresses it by insisting on what it calls environmental redesign, simple changes to your space.
Okay, so if the phone is your alarm, the first step is move it across the room. Don't have it on the nightstand, right? Make yourself get up.
Exactly. Better yet, just buy an inexpensive analog alarm clock. Old school, but effective. By forcing yourself to physically get out of bed and cross the room, you create a moment of conscious decision.
A pause, yes. And crucially, if you do pick up the phone just to silence the alarm, the discipline is immediately activate do not disturb mode, or at the very least keep it face down for those 30 minutes. The objective is to prevent that visual cue of a notification sucking you in. I like that. It's about removing the path of least resistance to distraction. Make the good habit easy, the bad habit hard.
Precisely. And the alternatives for what you do in those 30 minutes are really powerful self-directed activities.
Yeah, the source lists things like simple stretching, deep hydration. We'll get to that later, maybe some meditation, or even just journaling a few thoughts.
Activities that ground you. They affirm that your priorities, your intentions are leading the day, not someone else's urgent email.
And the long-term impact on focus. The blueprint claims it's measurable.
It is. By delaying that external input, by resisting that initial dopamine hit from notifications, you're actually training your prefrontal cortex.
The decision-making part of the brain.
Yes, you're training it to exercise impulse control. That mental muscle literally gets stronger. And that strength carries forward into every single decision you make for the rest of the day. Better focus, less reactivity. That psychological grounding, that sense of control, connects really nicely to habit 7. Prioritize mental calmness, the superpower.
In the source material, it's explicitly labeled a superpower. Why is calmness framed as being so critical right now, especially looking ahead to 2026?
Well, think about the trajectory, the velocity of change, the sheer volume of information, the noise level. Yeah. It's only going to increase.
Yeah, it feels that way. AI, news cycles, social media constantly vying for attention.
Exactly. We're entering, or maybe we're already deep into, an era defined by unprecedented demands on our cognitive bandwidth. If you don't actively cultivate a core of inner stillness, you'll simply be swept away by all those external forces.
You'll be tossed around.
Constantly. Calmness is that stable platform. It's the base from which you can assess complex, rapidly changing situations without panicking or reacting impulsively.
You know, we're always being told to act faster, hustle harder. So positioning calmness as a superpower feels almost counterintuitive. What exactly does the blueprint recommend for actively creating this state? It's not passive, right?
No, absolutely not passive. It's about defining calmness not as the absence of noise or chaos, because good luck finding that, but as the ability to choose your response amidst the noise.
Okay, how? What are the actions?
The actionable techniques are, again, simple but require consistency. First, meditate for just 10 minutes daily. And this doesn't have to be, sitting cross-legged in silence if that's not your thing. It could be mindful walking, focusing on your breath.
Okay.
Second, use what's sometimes called tactical breathing. When anxiety spikes, you feel that tightness in your chest, take 5 deep, slow breaths. Really focus on extending the exhale longer than the inhale. It activates the parasympathetic nervous system.
Calms you down physically.
Instantly. And third, allocate specific, scheduled time for intentional silence. Turn off all the inputs, phone, music, podcasts for short bursts throughout the day. Even 5 minutes can make a difference.
That core insight from the blueprint calmness is something you create, not something you find that really resonates. We spend so much time waiting for the external world to be perfect so we can finally relax.
Right. Waiting for the vacation, waiting for the project to end.
Yeah, but the blueprint suggests we need to build the internal infrastructure for calm, regardless of the external chaos.
Precisely. It's an internal skill, an internal environment you cultivate. And the broader implications are profound, really. A calm, non-reactive mind is exponentially better at decision-making.
How so?
Well, you avoid the impulse buys driven by scarcity fears. You avoid the rash arguments fueled by momentary anger. You avoid fear-driven financial decisions during market dips. This improvement in strategic thinking, in emotional regulation, it automatically leads to stronger relationships, less drama, and just increased long-term happiness and well-being. Okay, so we've started by claiming the morning, establishing that buffer, and we've cultivated inner stillness. Now we need to protect the time required for actual leveraged progress. That brings us to habit 5. Build a focus hour habit. Protecting the deep work. Yes, deep work. This habit tackles the erosion of our ability to concentrate deeply, which is a massive problem today.
Tell me about it.
Modern work and life, really, is characterized by what researcher Cal Newport calls attention residue.
Attention residue.
Yeah. Every time you switch tasks, you glance at a notification, you quickly check an email, you respond to a Slack message, a fragment of your attention remains stuck on that previous task. You're not fully present on the new one.
So you're never really fully focused on anything?
Exactly. This constant context switching means you rarely, if ever, engage your best, deepest cognitive resources on the task at hand. You're operating at a fraction of your potential capacity.
That sounds, frankly, exhausting and incredibly inefficient. It is both. Which is why the commitment here is, as you said, aggressive.
Yeah.
1 dedicated hour daily. 0 interruptions. No phone. No extra browser tabs open. Just pure, unadulterated focus. And this hour needs to be cordoned off, treated like, well, the blueprint says, protected like gold.
It has to be. This isn't just time for efficiently checking emails or catching up on admin. This hour is reserved for deep work.
Define deep work in this context.
It's the activities that require intense concentration and push your cognitive capabilities. Yeah. Things that actually move your biggest, most meaningful goals forward. That could be writing a book or business plan, mastering a complex new skill or concept for your job, coding a difficult feature, high-level strategic planning.
The stuff that really creates value, not just busyness.
Precisely. the value-creating work.
But let's hit that real-world constraint again. For a listener, maybe juggling a demanding job, kids, commuting, finding a completely uninterrupted hour every single day can feel utterly impossible. Does the blueprint offer any scalable solutions for people with basically zero margin?
It absolutely does, and this is key. The principle of protected deep focus is non-negotiable. But the duration is scalable.
Yeah.
If 1 full hour feels impossible right now, protect 30 minutes. If 30 is still too much, protect 2 15-minute blocks. The critical factor isn't necessarily the length initially, but the purity of the focus during that time.
Zero interruptions is the key, even if it's shorter.
Exactly. The brain responds far better to, say, 15 minutes of truly uninterrupted deep focus than it does to 2 hours of constantly fragmented, shallow attention where you keep getting pulled away.
That makes sense.
Furthermore, the blueprint strongly emphasizes placing this focus hour strategically. Ideally, put it first thing in your workday, maybe right after that phone-free 30 minutes we discussed. Do it before the world has a chance to impose its urgent but not important demands on you.
Front-load the important work.
Get it done before the chaos hits.
Now, this is where the quantitative detail in the source really caught my eye. It claims this single hour of focused effort can be worth more than 5 hours of scattered multitasking. A 5-to-1 ratio. Can you justify that? That seems huge.
It does sound huge, but it comes down to the massive efficiency gains enabled by achieving a state of flow or deep work.
Okay.
In scattered multitasking, remember that attention residue. Every time you switch tasks, studies suggest it can cost you up to 20 minutes of ramp-up time to fully re-engage your cognitive resources back onto the original complex task.
Wow, 20 minutes lost per switch.
Potentially, yes. Especially for complex work, you waste vast amounts of mental energy just dealing with the friction of interruptions and reorienting yourself.
Okay, I see where this is going.
So when you eliminate that attention residue, when you guard that hour fiercely and allow yourself to enter a flow state, your brain functions very differently. Information processing speeds up, complex connections are made more easily, error rates plummet, and the quality of the output is exponentially higher.
So it's not just faster, it's better.
Yeah.
Much better. You're truly bringing, say, 100% of your cognitive horsepower to bear on the problem, instead of maybe 20% filtered through constant distraction. That's where the 5.1 potential comes from, peak efficiency versus fragmented inefficiency. Okay, that justification makes the protect it like gold advice feel very real.
So the takeaway from this first section is crystal clear. 2026, perhaps more than any year before, demands aggressively defending your mental space.
You have to.
You start the day on your terms, not your phone's. You cultivate an inner calm to navigate the noise. And then you deploy protected, high-intensity focused time on the work that truly matters.
Exactly. It's like building the internal operating system first, making sure it's robust and optimized before you try to run complex programs. All right, that sets a strong foundation. Now let's transition smoothly into section 2. Because, let's be honest, it's hard to protect your mind and achieve deep focus if your body is constantly sabotaging you.
Absolutely. Low energy, sluggishness, brain fog. These physical states make mental discipline incredibly difficult.
So this section focuses on fueling the body and expanding the mind, treating the body not just as something to maintain, but as the essential vehicle for growth.
Right. If the mind is the architect drawing the blueprints, the body is the vehicle, the high-performance machine needed to actually realize those plans. You have to treat it as such, not as an afterthought you fuel with coffee and sugar. Couldn't agree more. And habit 2 addresses the most fundamental chemical requirement for that machine. Build the habit of dehydration. Consistency over quantity. Foundational.
Now, we've all heard drink more water a million times. What's the necessary nuance at the specific angle the blueprint adds here?
The key nuance lies in recognizing the problem most people actually have. It's not usually acute dehydration, it's chronic, mild dehydration.
Okay, explain that. It means most of us live day in and day out just slightly dehydrated, maybe 1-2% below optimal hydration levels. We normalize the subtle symptoms. That slight fatigue mid-afternoon, the dull headache, the bit of brain fog. Yeah, you just blame it on stress or lack of sleep or getting older.
Exactly. When often it's simply that our cells aren't properly hydrated, and that seemingly tiny 1-2% drop in hydration. Research shows it significantly impairs cognitive functions like complex problem solving, focus, and even mood regulation. It also slows reaction time.
So if you're even mildly dehydrated, you're literally making yourself dumber, slower, and probably grumpier.
Essentially, yes, you're handicapping your own performance. And the blueprint emphasizes that the solution isn't just chugging a huge bottle of water when you suddenly feel thirsty.
Right, because thirst is a lagging indicator.
It is. By the time you feel thirsty, you're already dehydrated. The emphasis here is on creating a system for consistency. A steady, regular intake throughout the day ensures your cells, particularly in the brain, which is about 75% water, are constantly receiving the hydration they need for optimal function.
Well, what does this hydration system look like in practice? What are the mechanics?
It's simple, systemic changes. First, the moment you wake up, remember that phone-free time. Drink a glass of water before coffee. This starts rehydrating the body after hours of sleep.
Okay, water first.
Second, environmental design again. Keep a visible water bottle readily accessible, always. At your desk, in your car, maybe by your bed. Make it effortless to reach for water.
Remove the friction.
Exactly. And third, the rule is sipping, not slamming. Sip regularly throughout the day. Don't wait until you feel parched and then gulp down a liter. Just steady sips. Make it a background habit.
The payoff here seems astonishingly broad for such a seemingly simple habit.
It really is. When you are properly hydrated consistently, the benefits cascade.
Yeah.
Focus improves noticeably. Digestion works better. Your skin looks healthier. Mood tends to stabilize because neurotransmitter function is better supported. Even creativity often gets a little boost.
Low effort, massive systemic returns. I like it. Yeah, it's a high leverage habit. And building on that physical foundation, habit 3 looks at movement. Move every single day. Movement as medicine.
Okay. And the source really urges a shift in mindset here. Moving away from that restrictive, often guilt-ridden, I have to work out hard 3 times a week mentality.
Yeah, the all or nothing approach that often leads to nothing.
Exactly. Instead, view movement as a non-negotiable daily component of a healthy lifestyle, like breathing or sleeping.
I appreciate this reframing, moving the goal away from just aesthetics, which, let's be honest, often leads to burnout and disappointment for many people, and focusing instead on function, energy management, and feeling good.
Precisely. And movement here is defined really broadly in the blueprint. It doesn't necessarily require a gym membership or an intense, sweaty session every single day.
So what counts?
It could be a brisk 20-minute walk after dinner, a 10-minute stretching routine first thing in the morning, maybe dancing in the kitchen while you cook, a short yoga flow, even taking the stairs instead of the elevator consistently. The key is intentionality. Doing something deliberate that gets your blood flowing and, crucially, breaks up long periods of static sitting.
Okay, but why daily? Can't we just, bank our activity with a couple of big weekend workouts?
You can, and that's better than nothing. But the daily requirement is tied directly to something crucial for brain health.
Ah, the brain connection again.
Yes. When you move your body, you increase the production of a protein called brain-derived neurotrophic factor, or BDNF.
BDNF, okay.
Think of BDNF as being like fertilizer for your brain cells. It supports the growth of new neurons, strengthens the connections between existing ones, and protects neurons from stress-related damage.
Wow, okay. Brain fertilizer.
Exactly. Daily movement keeps that neurological fertilizer constantly active and available in your brain. And higher BDNF levels directly correlate with improved memory formation, better learning capacity, enhanced emotional regulation, and sustained mental sharpness throughout life.
So movement isn't just medicine for the heart and waistline like we usually hear. It's fundamental daily maintenance for the mind itself.
Absolutely fundamental. And those high energy levels that result from consistent movement, they feed directly back into Section 1, into things like sustaining that focus hour. If you feel physically energized and alert, deep work is much easier.
Right, it all connects.
The motivation then becomes intrinsic, ideally. You move not just to look a certain way, but because your body was literally built to move, and optimized movement enables optimal living across the board. It just makes every other task in your breakthrough blueprint feel easier to execute when you have energy. Okay, that's powerful. Now, from maintaining the physical vehicle, we transition to continuously upgrading the software, the mental toolkit, with habit 4, read or listen to something educational every day. The compounding effect.
Yes.
That's the power of compounding knowledge. This habit capitalizes on that silent, almost invisible force. And the time commitment here is deliberately minimal.
Yeah, the blueprint suggests just 15 minutes a day is sufficient to start.
15 minutes.
Yeah.
It seems tiny, right? Almost insignificant. But the impact is absolutely massive when you view it over the long term, thanks to compounding.
Okay, let's do the math on that 15 minutes because this is where the magic really becomes concrete and motivating.
All right. 15 minutes of focused reading or listening to educational content, 7 days a week. That adds up to 1 hour and 45 minutes weekly. Over a full year. That's over 90 hours of dedicated personal growth and learning.
90 hours. That's equivalent to more than 2 full 40-hour work weeks.
Exactly. Imagine telling your boss you need to take 2 full weeks off, paid, just for a self-paced, curated curriculum on, say, critical thinking or negotiation skills or understanding AI's impact or whatever boosts your career or life.
Yeah.
And you achieve that equivalent learning time without actually changing your daily schedule in any major way. Just 15 minutes carved out consistently. That's the incredible power of the compounding effect applied to learning.
But the quality of that 15 minutes of input must be vital, right? It can't just be scrolling headlines or random articles. How does the blueprint advise choosing high-leverage material over just fleeting or purely entertaining content?
That's a crucial point. The goal isn't just information consumption. It's knowledge acquisition and mental model building. The blueprint advises seeking out foundational knowledge. Things like mental models from different disciplines, core principles of psychology or economics, deep history that provides context, cross-disciplinary concepts that help you think better. It encourages you to deliberately seek out people through books, podcasts, courses who are smarter than you, more experienced, and who think differently than you do.
Challenge your own thinking. Exactly. Prioritize material that changes how you think, not just what you think about current events. Ask yourself, will this knowledge still be valuable in 5 or 10 years? Avoid content that's basically disposable information, relevant today but forgotten tomorrow. And the flexibility of the medium is key here for integration, isn't it?
Absolutely. This habit needs to be almost frictionless to stick. So leverage different mediums.
Yeah.
Audiobooks or educational podcasts during your commute or while doing chores like cooking or cleaning. Reading a physical book or using an e-reader for those 15 minutes before bed instead of scrolling social media. It turns that dead time or transition time into active learning time.
Making learning an automatic process that fits your existing life structure.
Yes.
And what's really fascinating is the profound implication here, connecting back to everything else. When your mind grows, when you build a richer library of mental models and knowledge, your world literally expands. How so?
Your ability to solve complex problems increases because you have more tools. You start spotting opportunities others miss because you recognize patterns. You manage personal challenges more effectively because you understand the underlying dynamics better. It all stems from having a larger, more sophisticated mental framework to interpret and navigate the world, built consistently over those 90-plus hours a year. Okay, wow. So Section 2 gives us a well-hydrated, energized body and a mind that's consistently expanding its capabilities. We've built the internal control mechanisms in Section 1, optimized the vehicle and the software in Section 2. Let's move to Section 3, reflection, communication, and intentional improvement.
Right.
These habits are about creating active feedback loops, learning from experience, and interacting more effectively with the world around us.
The underlying principle here, as the blueprint puts it, is that progress isn't accidental. It has to be intentional.
Exactly. Most people just drift through life, repeating the same experiences, the same mistakes, the same frustrations, often without realizing it. Reflection is the tool that consciously breaks that cycle. And that tool is habit 6. Practice daily reflection, the bridge to improvement. This one stood out to me for its simplicity. It's framed as just a 5-minute habit. The barrier to entry is incredibly low, but the impact is high. It requires engaging in a little bit of metacognition, basically, thinking about your thinking and your actions from the day.
And it's structured around just 3 core questions at the end of the day. Just 3, simple but powerful. 1, what did I learn today? 2, what went well today? And 3, what can I do better tomorrow? Let's unpack the function of those specific questions. Why that structure? Why those 3?
Okay, the first question, what does I learn today? Forces you to actively retrieve and process information or insights from the day. It helps consolidate memory and prevents what you might call intellectual leakage. Learning something cool, but forgetting it by morning.
Okay, captures the learning.
The second question, what went well today, is absolutely crucial for psychological momentum and reinforcing positive behaviors. It trains your brain to look for wins, however small, and understand what actions led to them, making you more likely to repeat those effective actions. It fights negativity bias.
Builds confidence and reinforces success. Got it. And the third?
The third, what can I do better tomorrow? This is the engine of intentional improvement. It forces you to analyze a specific situation where things maybe didn't go perfectly, identify a root cause, and generate a concrete, actionable, small improvement plan for the very next day. Not some vague resolution, but a specific tweak.
So if you skip this reflection process, you basically suffer from what I sometimes call Groundhog Day syndrome.
Yes, exactly.
You just wake up and unconsciously repeat yesterday's patterns, yesterday's mistakes, because you never pause to actually analyze the data from the day before.
That's why the blueprint calls reflection the bridge between your experiences and your improvement. It's the mechanism that transforms raw, unexamined experience into leveraged wisdom you can apply going forward.
And the method doesn't have to be complicated, right?
Yeah.
Not at all. You could use a physical journal, type notes on your phone or computer, simply say it out loud to yourself or a partner, or even just spend 5 minutes thinking quietly through the questions. The key is the commitment. Never let a day end without consciously extracting the learning. Okay, powerful internal feedback loop. Now, while reflection is primarily internal, Habit 9 addresses our interaction with the external world. Practice clear communication, the trust builder.
Hugely important.
The source identifies this as one of the most valuable, most highly leveraged modern skills you can develop. Why so critical?
Because in virtually every area of life that involves other people, which is almost everything, miscommunication acts like friction in a machine.
Right. It slows things down, causes errors.
Exactly. It costs time, it costs money, it costs emotional energy, it damages relationships. In a complex, high-stakes environment, whether that's a corporate team, a small business, or even just your close personal relationships, clarity is efficiency and effectiveness. And the foundational principle here, according to the blueprint, is incredibly simple. Clarity builds trust. That's the core.
Yeah.
Clarity builds trust. Ambiguity, vagueness, jargon, these things breed confusion, suspicion, and inefficiency. When you communicate clearly, people know where they stand, what's expected, and they trust your intentions more.
The blueprint also stresses saying things simply and honestly. It pushes back against the tendency we sometimes have to use complicated language or corporate jargon to try and sound impressive.
Yes. True mastery isn't using big words. It's the ability to distill complex ideas into clear, concise, direct language that anyone can understand. That actually demonstrates deeper understanding.
And there are 2 critical conversational disciplines required for this habit, highlighted in the source. 2 key ones. First, and this is harder than it sounds, listen before responding. Genuinely listen. What do most people do instead?
Most people listen only to find a pause in the conversation where they can jump in and make their own point. They're formulating their rebuttal while the other person is still talking.
Right. Listening to reply, not to understand.
Exactly. Effective communicators, the blueprint says, listen to truly absorb the other person's perspective. They might even paraphrase back what they heard, so if I understand correctly, you're saying, to confirm understanding before they offer their own view.
That takes patience and discipline. What's the second discipline?
Yeah.
The second is perhaps even harder, especially when emotions are high or there's disagreement. Talk to understand, not just to be right. Ooh, that's a big one.
It reframes the entire objective of many conversations. Instead of seeing it as a debate or a battle to win, where you need to prove your point and defeat the other person's, you approach it as a collaborative exploration. The goal becomes shared understanding, even if you still disagree on the conclusion. Help me understand why you see it that way. Becomes more powerful than, here's why you're wrong.
That completely changes the dynamic from adversarial to cooperative.
Completely. And the outcomes of mastering clear, trust-building communication are significantly leveraged across your life. It's the lubricant that allows all your personal and professional systems, your teams, your family, your partnerships, to run smoothly with minimal friction.
So better relationships, less unnecessary drama and conflict, and fundamentally it establishes you as a more effective, reliable, and honest leader, whether you have a formal title or not.
Absolutely. It's a core leadership skill in any context.
Okay, so Section 3 equips us with the tools to analyze our own performance through reflection and significantly improve how we engage and interact with others through clear communication. Now we reach the final section. Section 4, which is all about creating structures and environments that support success automatically.
Yes, systemizing success. This is critical because, as we touched on earlier, willpower is a finite resource. It gets depleted throughout the day.
It's unreliable, especially under stress.
Highly unreliable. If your entire plan for building these habits relies on making conscious, effortful decisions every single day to use your willpower, you are almost certainly going to fail eventually. We need systems that basically perform the discipline for us.
Remove the need for constant decision-making and effort.
Exactly. Automate the good behavior. And the prime example the blueprint gives for achieving discipline without daily effort is Habit 8. Automate your finances. Perfect example.
Stop relying on that emotional, in-the-moment decision each month about whether to save or invest.
This strategy directly counteracts well-known behavioral finance errors that trip most people up. Humans naturally suffer from things like loss aversion. The pain of loss feels stronger than the pleasure of gain and hyperbolic discounting.
Which means we value immediate gratification way more than long-term rewards, right?
Precisely. We'd rather have $10 today than $15 next week. Financial automation cleverly steps around these cognitive biases entirely by removing the money for savings and investment before you even have a chance to see it and feel tempted to spend it on immediate gratification.
Out of sight, out of mind, into your future.
That's the idea. And the specific automation structure provided in the blueprint is a fantastic starting point for any listener.
Yeah, it recommends setting up automatic transfers that occur the very day you get paid, before that money even fully settles into your primary checking or spending account.
Yeah.
And the suggested allocation is a really powerful leverage structure. Automatically transfer 10% of your income to a long-term savings account or emergency fund, another 10% directly into investments like a low-cost index fund, and perhaps 5% towards charity or, importantly, self-development, things like courses, books, conferences that fuel habit 4. So it's a 10-105 split, roughly, yes. The percentages can be adjusted, but the principle is key. You pay yourself first. You ensure you save and invest before you start spending on discretionary items. You never budget from what's left over at the end of the month. You budget from what's left after your automated future building transfers have already happened. And when we talk about automating that 10% into investments, this is where concepts like dollar cost averaging become really powerful without you even thinking about it.
Exactly. By investing a fixed amount automatically every month or pay period, you naturally buy more shares when prices are low and fewer shares when prices are high. It removes the emotional roller coaster and the futile attempt to constantly time the market.
Which even professional investors struggle to do consistently.
Right. Automation takes the emotion and guesswork out of it. The result, as the blueprint highlights, is that often within just 6 months, you'll look at your savings and investment balances and see surprising progress that happened almost effortlessly in the background purely because you set it and forgot it.
The discipline is baked into the system itself, freeing up your limited willpower and mental energy for things like your focus hour or practicing patience and communication.
Precisely. Systematize where you can.
Okay. And finally, we arrive at the 10th habit, habit 10. The source material calls this one arguably the most powerful habit of all, which is surround yourself with growth-minded people. Contagious habits.
Yeah, this one is huge because it acts as a multiplier for all the other habits. It's about recognizing the profound, often unconscious influence of your social environment.
The contagious nature of human behavior.
Absolutely. Habits, attitudes, standards, expectations, they are incredibly contagious. They spread through social networks like viruses. If you are consistently surrounded by people who are lazy, negative, who complain constantly but take no action, it's almost inevitable that you will unconsciously start mirroring those low standards and behaviors, regardless of your own personal aspirations or willpower. Their norms become your norms.
It's like an unconscious gravitational pull, lowering your trajectory without you even realizing it's happening.
Exactly. Conversely, if your 5 or 10 closest friends, colleagues, or mentors are consistently dreamers, doers, learners, people who prioritize self-improvement, maintain high energy, take responsibility, and push themselves.
Your own standard automatically lift.
They do. You don't have to exert nearly as much conscious willpower to improve because the environment itself is pulling you upward. Growth becomes the path of least resistance because it's the norm in your circle.
So the choice of your circle, your peer group, effectively dictates a huge part of your trajectory.
Massively. Which means the action steps here are intentional and sometimes difficult. You must actively curate and upgrade your environment.
What does that look like practically?
It might mean consciously spending less time with negative or draining individuals. It might mean seeking out and joining professional communities, mastermind groups, or local clubs centered around growth or specific skills. It could mean being more intentional about who you follow and engage with online consuming content from people who inspire and challenge you.
Actively designing your social inputs.
Yes. You are architecting an environment where growth is encouraged, supported, and expected, making it the default, not the exception.
And there's a final, really profound challenge embedded in this habit in the blueprint. It asks you to flip the lens.
Oh, yes. Be the rising tide yourself.
Exactly. Be the kind of growth-minded, positive, action-oriented person that others want to surround themselves with. This ensures you're not just passively extracting value from your environment, but actively contributing to that collective high standard. It makes the whole system regenerative and mutually beneficial.
It's incredibly powerful, and what becomes really clear when you look at all 10 of these habits together is their interconnectedness. They aren't isolated tactics.
Yeah, they form a system.
A self-reinforcing structure, exactly. The mental clarity you gain from the phone-free morning, habit 1, makes your focus hour, habit 5, much more productive. That increased productivity and sense of accomplishment might give you the energy and confidence to move every day, habit 3.
Right.
The insights from daily reflection, habit 6, might highlight a need to improve communication, habit 9. Reading daily, habit 4, might give you ideas that you then discuss with your growth-minded circle, habit 10, which in turn reinforces your commitment to all the habits.
It's a closed loop of continuous positive feedback. The structure itself is the breakthrough mechanism. It's not about mastering just one thing in isolation. It's about the synergistic effect of these 10 small, consistent, non-negotiable disciplines working together.
Well said. The synergy is where the magic happens.
So let's try to synthesize this entire blueprint for you, our listener. We've covered 10 incredibly high-leverage actions. They span defending your mental state, optimizing your physical energy, compounding your knowledge, improving your interactions, and structuring your finances and environment for success. And the synthesis really reinforces that core message we started with. A breakthrough year isn't born from one single grand moment of overnight transformation. That's mostly a myth.
Right. It's built patiently, brick by brick, through these tiny, consistent habits, seemingly small actions repeated daily that compound powerfully over time.
Success, as the blueprint suggests, is rarely about that one big, heroic achievement everyone sees. It's really about the sum total of the quiet, consistent, often unglamorous choices you make day in and day out, especially when no one's watching. It's the 15 minutes of reading instead of scrolling social media before bed. It's the focus hour you fiercely protect from email demands. It's the 5-minute reflection you execute even when you're tired. These are the small moments where your future self, the 2026 version of you, is actually being constructed.
So the actionable next step becomes really important here. How do you actually start implementing this without feeling overwhelmed?
Yeah, 10 habits is a lot to take on at once.
It is. And the blueprint is very clear. Do not try to implement all 10 habits simultaneously starting January 1st. That is almost certainly a recipe for failure, burnout, and feeling discouraged.
Okay, so what's the recommended approach?
Start small. Be realistic. Pick just 2 or 3 habits from this list of 10. Choose the ones that resonate most strongly with you right now, maybe targeting your biggest current weakness, or the area where you feel the most potential for a quick win.
So maybe it's just the phone-free morning and the daily reflection to start. Or maybe daily movement and automating finances.
Exactly. Pick your 2 or 3. Then, commit to practicing only those habits consistently for a dedicated period, say 30 days. Focus on making them feel automatic, effortless, like a natural part of your identity, not a chore.
Embed them first.
Embed them. Once that initial structure feels stable and requires less willpower, then you can consider layering in another habit from the list. This gradual, compounding approach to habit installation is far more likely to lead to sustainable, deep change than trying to overhaul your entire life overnight.
That makes a lot of sense. Sustainable change over heroic, short-lived efforts?
Always.
All right. This brings us to our final thought for you to carry forward from this deep dive today. We've analyzed the blueprint. We've dissected the habits designed for your breakthrough year. But, as we all know, the blueprints on paper don't actually build the house.
No, the construction starts only when you lay the first part. Action is required.
And your future, the person you will be in 2026 and beyond, is actively being constructed right now. Not in some distant future, but in the quiet moments of discipline or indulgence that you choose today.
The effort you put in now, however small it feels, that 15 minutes of reading, that glass of water first thing is being exponentially leveraged down the line through the power of compounding. Your choices today echo. So the question we leave you with is this. What quiet act of discipline, what single brick from this blueprint will you prioritize and lay down today, maybe even right now, after listening, to ensure you are actively building the life, the future you truly deserve? Will you move your phone charger across the room tonight? Will you schedule that automated bank transfer right now? Will you take 5 minutes to reflect before you sleep? The construction starts with that first small deliberate action. Choose it now.